शुरुआत कर दी, उसी क्षण सफलता की शुरुआत भी हो गई। आपको लड़ना पड़ सकता है, जूझना पड़ सकता है, आप लड़खड़ा सकते हैं, गिर सकते हैं, लेकिन अगर आपने दौड़ने का जज्बा नहीं छोड़ा है, आप चलते जा रहे हैं, तो ये मान करके चलिए कि जीत खुद एक एक कदम आपकी ओर बढ़ रही है। आजादी के अमृत काल में देश ने इसी हौसले के साथ नए भारत के निर्माण की शुरुआत की है। एक समय था जब दुनिया ओलंपिक जैसे वैश्विक खेल महाकुंभ के लिए दीवानी होती थी, लेकिन हमारे यहां वो खेल बरसों तक सिर्फ जनरल नॉलेज के विषय के तौर पर ही समेट दिए गए थे। लेकिन अब मिजाज बदला है, मूड नया है, माहौल नया है। 2014 से फर्स्ट एंड बेस्ट का जो सिलसिला देश में शुरू हुआ है, हमारे युवाओं ने वो जलवा खेलों में भी बरकरार रखा है। आप देखिए, 8 साल पहले तक भारत के खिलाड़ी 100 से भी कम इंटरनेशनल इवेंट्स में हिस्सा लेते थे। अब भारत के खिलाड़ी 300 से भी ज्यादा इंटरनेशनल इवेंट्स में शामिल होते हैं। 8 साल पहले भारत के खिलाड़ी 20-25 खेलों को खेलने के जाते थे। अब भारत के खिलाड़ी करीब 40 अलग अलग खेलों में हिस्सा लेने जाते हैं। आज भारत के मेडल की संख्या भी बढ़ रही है और भारत की दमक भी बढ़ रही है। कोरोना के कठिन समय में भी देश ने अपने खिलाड़ियों का मनोबल कम नहीं होने दिया। हमने हमारे युवाओं को हर जरूरी संसाधन दिए, ट्रेनिंग के लिए विदेश भेजा। हमने स्पोर्ट्स स्पिरिट के साथ स्पोर्ट्स के लिए काम किया। टॉप्स जैसी योजनाओं के जरिए वर्षों तक मिशन मोड में तैयारी की। आज बड़े बड़े खिलाड़ियों की सफलता से लेकर नए खिलाड़ियों के भविष्य निर्माण तक टॉप्स एक बड़ी भूमिका निभा रहा है। आज हमारे युवा हर खेल में नए रिकॉर्ड बना रहे हैं और अपने ही रिकॉर्ड ब्रेक भी करते चले जा रहे हैं। टोक्यो में इस बार भारत ने ओलंपिक्स का अपना सबसे शानदार प्रदर्शन किया। टोक्यो ओलंपिक्स में पहली बार युवाओं ने इतने मेडल्स देश के नाम किए। उसके बाद थॉमस कप में हमने हमारी बैडमिंटन टीम की जीत का जश्न मनाया। युगांडा में पैरा बैडमिंटन टीम ने भी 47 मेडल जीतकर देश की शान बढ़ाई। इस सफलता का सबसे ताकतवर पक्ष ये है कि इसमें हमारी बेटियां भी बराबरी से भागीदार है। हमारी बेटियां आज सबसे आगे तिरंगे की शान बढ़ा रही है। साथियों, खेल की दुनिया में ये सामर्थ्य दिखाने की क्षमता देश में पहले भी थी। ये विजय अभियान पहले भी शुरू हो सकता था, लेकिन खेलों में जो प्रोफेशनलिज्म होना चाहिए था, उसकी जगह परिवारवाद और भ्रष्टाचार ने ले रखी थी। हमने सिस्टम की सफाई भी की और युवाओं में उनके सपनों के लिए भरोसा भी जगाया। देश अब केवल योजनाएं नहीं बनाता, बल्कि अपने युवाओं के साथ कदम से कदम मिलाकर आगे बढ़ता है। इसलिए आज फिट इंडिया और खेलो इंडिया जैसे प्रयास एक जन आंदोलन बन गए। इसलिए आज खिलाड़ियों को ज्यादा से ज्यादा संसाधन भी दिए जा रहे हैं और ज्यादा से ज्यादा अवसर भी मिल रहे हैं। पिछले 8 वर्ष में देश का खेल बजट करीब करीब 70% बढ़ा है। आज देश में स्पोर्ट्स यूनिवर्सिटीज बन रही है, कोने कोने में आधुनिक स्पोर्ट्स इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर तैयार किया जा रहा है। इतना ही नहीं, रिटायर होने के बाद भी खिलाड़ियों को कोई तकलीफ न हो, इसके लिए भी प्रयास किया जा रहा है। रिटायर होने वाले खिलाड़ियों के अनुभवों का लाभ नई पीढ़ी को मिल सके, इस दिशा में भी काम हो रहा है। साथियों, स्पोर्ट्स, खेल हजारों वर्षों से भारत की सभ्यता और संस्कृति का हिस्सा रहा है। खेल हमारी विरासत और विकास यात्रा का जरिया रहे हैं। आजादी के अमृत काल में देश अपनी विरासत पर गर्व के साथ इस परंपरा को पुनर्जीवित कर रहा है। अब देश के प्रयास और उत्साह केवल एक खेल तक सीमित नहीं है, बल्कि कलारीपट्टू और योगासन जैसे भारतीय खेलों को भी महत्व मिल रहा है। मुझे खुशी है कि इन खेलों को नेशनल गेम्स जैसे बड़े आयोजनों में शामिल किया गया है। जो खिलाड़ी इन खेलों का प्रतिनिधित्व यहां कर रहे हैं, उन्हें मैं एक बात विशेष तौर पर कहना चाहता हूं। आप एक और हजारों वर्ष पुरानी परंपरा को आगे बढ़ा रहे हैं, तो साथ ही खेल जगत के भविष्य को नेतृत्व भी दे रहे हैं। आने वाले समय में जब इन खेलों को वैश्विक मान्यता मिलेगी, तो इन क्षेत्रों में आपका नाम लीजेंड्स के रूप में लिया जाएगा। साथियों, आखिरी में आप सभी खिलाड़ियों को मैं एक मंत्र और देना चाहता हूं। अगर आपको कंपटीशन जीतना है, तो आपको कमिटमेंट और कंटिन्यूटी को जीना सीखना होगा। खेलों में हार जीत को कभी भी हमें आखिरी नहीं मानना चाहिए। ये स्पोर्ट्स स्पिरिट आपके जीवन का हिस्सा होना चाहिए। तभी भारत जैसे युवा और भारत जैसा युवा देश, उसके सपनों को आप नेतृत्व देंगे, असीमित संभावनाओं को साकार करेंगे। और आपको याद रखना है, जहां गति होती है वहीं पर प्रगति होती है। इसलिए इस गति को आपको मैदान से बाहर भी बनाकर रखना है। ये गति आपके जीवन का मिशन होना चाहिए। मुझे विश्वास है, नेशनल गेम्स में आपकी जीत देश को जश्न का मौका भी देगी और भविष्य के लिए एक नया विश्वास भी जगाएगी। इसी विश्वास के साथ ये 36वें राष्ट्रीय खेलों के शुभारंभ का आह्वान करता हूं।
भारत की एकता और अखंडता का शक्तिशाली प्रतीक है टॉर्च ऑफ यूनिटी। ये राष्ट्रीय खेलों में देश की एकजुटता का प्रतीक है, जीवन के हर पहलू में निष्पक्ष रहने की प्रतिज्ञा है। आइए टॉर्च ऑफ यूनिटी की महत्ता दर्शाती एक एवी देखते हैं।
Namaste and welcome to this edition of The Right Stand. And as we say, Jai Hind, it is the 36th National Games. Ladies and gentlemen, make sport a way of your life, a part of your life. And let's just hope very soon in the near future, we as Bharat play host to the world as we host the Olympics. But this evening, here on this very special edition of The Right Stand, we'd also like to thank our viewers because this Thursday, 23 weeks continuously, it is thank you to you that we are number one. Thank you for trusting us. Thank you for believing in us, and thank you for your viewership. Unbeatable, indomitable, incisive. That's how we are at CNN News 18. And thank you for taking the right stand. But this evening, the story on the PFI crackdown, we take it a little further. We tell you why this organization was up to no good. There is evidence that points in the direction of this organization's close affiliation and working directly with the Daesh or the ISIS. That is our big CNN News 18 exclusive. The PFI and the ISIS connect. Time and again, PFI and its affiliates and fronts and members and its cadre have been in the news for the wrong reasons. For their affiliation not just with the ISIS but also inspired to travel all the way to Syria, however circuitously and surreptitiously possible. And the PFI has been involved, be it in 2015, 2016, 2017 through the course and largely from Kerala. Earlier this evening on The Nation at 5, we put out information that's been shared through sources within the NIA, and Arunima had brought us 2 or 3 cases from Kerala itself where these people, all of them, the cadre, were inspired by the ISIS and working in the PFI, and somewhere it was all mixed up. Now on to our mega CNN News 18 exclusive courtesy our investigations editor Manoj Gupta. Well, Abhijit Majumdar, our guest this evening, is with us in the studio, but let me show him too, and along with our viewers, why is it that the PFI has been banned? Why is it called unlawful association? Now here's the input. First up, it's a CNN News 18 mega exclusive. It's a deep PFI and an ISIS connect, and this is what the raids have revealed. The raids have revealed that PFI is actually like a feeder source for the ISIS. It is breeding grounds, curating them, readying them and sending them. PFI a stepping stone for ISIS terrorists from India. Now the information that we have accessed from top government sources point to the fact that 21 of India origin Daesh terrorists, ISIS terrorists had direct links with the PFI. 4th point, recovered in raids, ISIS linked literature, A. B. ISIS training booklets, C. explosive making manuals. This has been revealed. And number 5, a bigger plot of the PFI. Lure the youth, recruit them, radicalize them for the ISIS. And in fact, if you remember, there were huge furor that they were targeting girls from the Christian community and from the Hindu community, radicalizing them and even taking them along. So this was also hugely debated. It went even up to the courts, but one judgment put paid to 900 plus other cases. We will talk about that too. But this terror intent or this pan-Islamist intent, how similar, how different it is, and what is the impact, we'll talk about that with our guests. It's a mega CNN News 18 exclusive, ladies and gentlemen. PFI and the ISIS Connect. Abhijit Majumdar with us here in the studio, consulting editor, First Post, and also founder of earshot.in. Sushant Sareen, senior fellow, ORF, strategic affairs expert with us. Srijit Manikar, we have opinion writer and of course someone who's tracked the footprints of PFI and its various affiliates in Kerala. And Vikram Singh ji is with us, former DGP Uttar Pradesh. Namaste, thank you very much, gentlemen. Let me start with Abhijit right next to me. Abhijit, the PFI and its activities. One aspect is that it's similar to the Muslim Brotherhood in its ideology and the way it addresses its cadre.
Insidiousness as well.
Insidiousness as well. The ISIS Connect, this has also been doing the rounds for the last 5-6 years. They've been saying that these guys are up to no good, they're radicalizing youth. Now there seems to be absolute connect.
Exactly. See, Anand, what's coming out of this investigative piece is that PFI was not about, a voice for Indian Muslims or the subjugated in India voice. This was a pan-Islamic, global kind of movement. It was part of that, extremely violent jihad movement. And one, in all this, in everything, the one good shining line is that they have been looking out of India for their inspiration, out of India for their funding, and they have been traveling all over the world. If you see some of the cases that that are with NIA, that these people have gone with their families to Malaysia, then to Saudi Arabia, then to Turkey, then tried to get into Iraq and join the ISIS. So a lot of the main part of the puzzle is still outside India. So the one good thing that I take away from this is that there's a very large part of Indian Muslims do not
subscribe to this.
Do not subscribe to this, do not look at PFI as their voice.
But on a base of more than 25 crore Muslims in India, a few thousands, a few hundreds or a few thousands itself is a sizable number.
Exactly.
And here there are a few hundreds who have gone from here. Now 21 at least confirmed who were directly linked to the PFI who are serving with the Daesh. Let me just take this, that's what the information tells us. Let me just take this to Sushant Sareen. What are the questions that Abhijit also asked? Muslim Brotherhood or ISIS? How are they similar and how are they different? And this PFI as an organization, how can it be influenced by both organizations?
Anand, one of the things which we haven't really covered so far is the involvement of people from Kerala in incidents of terrorism and with Daesh in Afghanistan. I think we need to factor that in as well, because there have been a number of people who have gone from Kerala and made a beeline for the Islamic State out there in Afghanistan. But on your question, you have to understand where the jihadist phenomena or the jihadist mentality comes from. Broadly speaking, if you look at all the jihadist organizations around the world, there is a continuum. There's an ideological continuum which ties them together. What is more, they also behave like any multinational corporation will behave. They think global, which means that they identify with global Islamist causes, but they act local. So they take care of what is happening in the local areas, and they try and leverage that to win their recruitment, to carry out their operations, to gain visibility. And then, the ideological font of most of these movements in some ways can be traced to the Muslim Brotherhood, which is very closely linked also to the Jamaat-e-Islami. Very often people forget, thankfully this government had the wisdom to ban the Jamaat-e-Islami in Jammu and Kashmir, but the Jamaat-e-Islami in the rest of India continues to exist. They remain under the radar screen, but broadly, if you look at the ideological continuum between the Jamaat and the Muslim Brotherhood, it's almost similar. And in fact, both Hassan al-Banna of the Muslim Brotherhood as well as Maududi of the Jamaat-e-Islami were very closely linked. Now go back 300 years. Shah Waliullah, who is in some ways supposed to be the progenitor of radical Islam in the subcontinent, was a contemporary of Abdul Wahab, the head of the Wahhabi sect in Saudi Arabia. They more or less were contemporaries in Saudi Arabia at one point of time. So, you have to look at it in that context to understand, the kind of cross connections which tie these various jihadist groups. To just look at these groups in isolation, you miss the rather the larger plot, which actually then they will have their differences. They will have both doctrinal differences. They will have some ideological problems as well, and yet the fundamental ideological strain is common. Their attitude towards women, their attitude towards minorities, their concept of Islamic law, their concept of what an Islamic State is going to be, broadly similar. So, it doesn't take much for somebody from Kerala who is influenced by that kind of a philosophy, even though he has absolutely nothing in common with these fellows otherwise.
Yeah.
But he's influenced by that ideology, that philosophy, and then he goes and makes a beeline out there. And it's like, transferring a fish from one pond of water to another pond of water. They fit in rather well. Of course, then racism and other things come in. So many of the guys who went from India to work in ISIS were made to clean toilets,
right,
because they were thought they are not fit enough to be fighters. But that's besides the point.
No,
but by and large, that is the reality.
No, they show them a dream, then they treat them as infidels and as inferiors. That's what is the thing. Everybody goes and they get brainwashed with this kind of ideology. Srijit Nair, is this such a big problem in Kerala? Is this something which has been taken cognizance of? Because governments in the past and even in the present have been very, very careful about taking a strong position. They have waited for the centre to act even before the Kerala government declares it an unlawful association.
Yeah, that kind of a drift actually happened over the last 10-12 years, Anand, because 3 years into the inception of PFI, there was this then Chief Minister, Mr. V.S. Achuthanandan, who was representing the CPM. He spoke in Delhi against the PFI, saying that they have a very larger design to convert the state into an Islamic dominated state in 2 decades. And he said that they were adopting different types of ways like religious conversion to achieve their goal. This had become a big controversy back then, and even Mr. Pinarayi Vijayan, who was at loggerheads with him in terms of ideological differences within the party, had supported him. And then just 2 years after that, the government changed, and it was a Congress government led by Umman Chandi. And he gave a fact-driven affidavit in the Kerala High Court, which detailed the number of violent cases in which the PFI members were involved in, the number of murders, and also the other types of criminal activities, including attempts to murder. These were all sizable in the ranges of 20, 30, and it goes on like that. But what happened is that in the next 10 years, nobody bothered. No political dispensation acted against it, and nobody even demanded a ban on PFI or its affiliated organizations. So basically what happened is that during the last 10 years, PFI grew from just a Muslim organization to accept a lot of minorities into it, like Christians and others. Then they said they took a pro-Dalit stand. They welcomed the tribals into it. So basically they gave an impression to the exterior world that they stood for the marginalized sections of the society. They were saying that they were against the far right-wing politics of the Sangha Parivar, and they even gave three different ideals as their offering to the society, like freedom, justice, and security.
Yes.
But what happened later in 2018 in Madhya Pradesh, there was a national annual DGP meet. So in that meet, what I learned from the newspapers is that Kerala's DGP, who was Loknath Behra at that point of time, he gave a detailed presentation on the growth of this PFI and also their influence in various sects of people within the state. So he specifically quoted 4 examples. One is a much discussed case of that hand chopping incident of a college professor here.
Yeah, TJ
then
Joseph.
into there were some camps where they were training people in using the weapons. Third was the manufacturing of weapons and IEDs. And then murders which on the exterior look like political murders, but these were not just political murders, these were ideology-based murders. The ideology means it was not political, but it was all communal. So he gave that presentation, and post that event, the then minister, Kiran Rijiju, gave a statement publicly that the Kerala government has been pressing actively for a ban. But what happened is, the same Pinarayi Vijayan who supported V.S. Achyutanandan in his statements against the PFI back in 2010 took a stand saying that Kiran Rijiju has been misconstruing facts and that it was baseless.
Right.
What he said is the government is not for outlawing any kind of organization, and if at all they do, the first organization to be banned will be the RSS. Now the same stand is taken by the state party chief 2 days before, which is 4 years after that particular incident. Now what happened is Loknath Behra, due to his restrictions, he could not speak to the media. But what indeed happened is last year before his retirement, he met a lot of media houses and gave exclusive interviews to all of them. There he said a point which you gave in the introduction of this particular debate, that Kerala has fast become the breeding ground, or rather the recruiting hub of terrorists.
Yes.
He said that there were a lot of sleeper cells of the IS working in the state, across the state, and he said that the police was probably not able to track down every one of them. Then some of the opposition MLAs, some roughly 45 days after this revelation, asked this to the chief minister in the assembly, and he said he did not have any kind of information. Even today, what happens is that even the very strong governments which are anti-BJP are enforcing the orders from the center in banning the PFI. They are using the state police and the anti-terrorist squads to crack down the PFI officers, the PFI activists, everyone. What happens in Kerala? Kerala is going soft against it. The CM has issued a statement that there should not be any unnecessary haste. We should be using only lawful means to curb them. I do not understand what is unnecessary hate in cracking down an organization like PFI, which has been banned India-wide. The haste, if at all, is taken on the part of the police. It is legal. It is well within normal people's understanding. But what the CM says is for appeasement. That is the problem. That is the big change that has happened over the last 10 years in Kerala politics. Everybody sees PFI and its affiliated political friends like STP as a vote bank. So they woo at least local.
So that's how they have been able
levels.
to. What they've slowly been able to do is gather so much of root and presence that they are able to portray themselves as an important vote bank. You may not like them, but you need them. So that's why what do you do with them? So that's how they are tending to grow. But interestingly, across India, majority of the social unrest cases, Abhijit, and also where the PFI has its operations, SDPI and all its affiliates, there is somebody or the other who's from Kerala, who's present in all these offices. So the hub seems to be still Kerala. Even in Bihar, there were people who are coming from Kerala and from Tamil Nadu who are going there to train and who are regularly interacting. The SDPI local head in Jaipur is from Kerala. So he was also picked up. So there is this Kerala connection pan-India which is also happening. Now we got more information before I bring in Vikram Singh ji and also bring in Abhijit back again. This is a mega exclusive second aspect. These are the faces, ladies and gentlemen. Now have a look. CNN News 18 has 19 PFI ISIS entities who have been identified. Links PFI and with the ISIS. This is the PFI ISIS Connect, the faces. First one is Mohammed Samir. He's a resident of Valapattanam in Kannur, Kerala, joined the ISIS in 2015. Earlier, subdivisional convener, killed in Syrian war zone fighting for the ISIS. The next face, Mohammed Shajil, resident of Munderi in Kannur in Kerala, joined the ISIS in 2016. Earlier, PFI's local hit squad, many criminal cases against him. Killed in Syria, fighting for ISIS. Now, this is the available picture of his in uniform. Safwan Pukutil, resident of Ponmundam, Malappuram, Kerala. Again, North Kerala. See this very carefully. Note the location. Kannur, Malappuram. This is all Kasargod, all North Kerala. Very specifically, ladies and gentlemen. Part of the Omar al-Hindi ISIS module in Kerala. He was arrested in 2016, has been convicted. Graphic designer, part of PFI's mouthpiece, Tejas Daily. Then again, Manseed Mahmood, Kundumnal. Manseed Mahmood Kundummal, resident of Chokli, Kannur, Kerala, also part of the Omar al-Hindi ISIS module. He was convicted along with Safwan in 2016. PFI member overseas wing for 12 years, ladies and gentlemen. Area reporter, PFI Intel Department. Then you have Khaja Mohiddin, resident of Kodalur in Tamil Nadu. Notorious IS terrorist arrested by the NIA in 2020, masterminded the killing of police officer Wilson in Kanyakumari. Shajir Mangalaseri is the next phase. Resident of Wayanad in Kerala, joined the ISIS Khorasan. So Daesh Khorasan comes in place. Afghanistan, core member of PFI, FB groups, Tanal and SDPI Kerala. Planned to target RSS and BJP leaders. He's killed in Afghanistan. These are some of the faces who we have put out here, ladies and gentlemen. There are others whose names we have also put out last week, directly involved with the Daesh, be it in Syria or in Khorasan. Vikram Singh ji, if these people, so many of these faces were known, have we allowed them too much of a long leash?
Anandji, we have allowed the grass to grow underneath the feet, and because of those people who saw the 13 pieces of gold and not beyond their nose. As they say that perhaps we have not drawn our lessons from the likes of Mir Jafar, and they're the people. Look at the deep pockets that the PFI has. 250 crores in just 2 days. 140 crores into the Delhi anti-CA riots. 50 crores before the Bengaluru riots. They have such deep pockets, and Jan Hawala case gives us the indication that one requires an insidious and a crooked mind, just about 5 crores of rupees to buy out the topmost politicians, and many of them are cutting across political lines. Therefore, I would say it is an insidious and an extremely sinister and dangerous plot. And then 13 states, why blame Kerala alone? 13 states have been identified as those who seem to have a very soft corner and complicit when it comes to handling the PFI and the SDPI. In this case, we have slipped. You mentioned the DGP's meeting of 2007. It was for the first time in the DGP's meeting in September 2011 that the IB gave the input that the Kerala and the Karnataka forests are being used by the PFI to train their cadres into unarmed combat and also in the fabrication of crude bombs and IED explosions. Well, it has taken 11 years, and we as a country seem to be extremely large-hearted and magnanimous when it comes to anti-national activity and elements. Look what would have happened to them had it been some other state like Israel. And here we are trying to embrace them and glorify them. There are those like Rashid Alvi, Pramod Tiwari, and those who say, no, first show us the evidence and then go in for the raids. Where in the world will the investigating officer should show the evidence and then go in for the raids? The investigation has a specific roadmap, a protocol and SOP, and political bigwigs, however big they may be, they have no right even to take a look at the evidence. Within the organization also, there's a need to know and right to know. But yes, there is a subculture of looking the other way when it comes to pseudo-secularism and then monkey balancing acts. Ban this, then ban this also. This is not going to work. Anybody who has foreign affiliations, and look, in your show also, and many of the show I've been, the advocates and those speaking on behalf of the PFI say, give a single case of anyone going abroad, a single case where the PFI has been found at fault. And you have given a dozen cases yourself in this show, and I can give you 2 dozen more. I have, but I will not waste your time.
It's not about wasting time, Vikram Singh. Here's what they do. The argument is they have this cushion of plausible deniability. Just because they were coming to PFI meetings or they were PFI members doesn't mean PFI radicalized them or recruited them. These people are going on their own terms, Abhijit Majumdar. That's how they have always turned around. Imagine the Campus Front of India on my shows 4 years ago had said that we are integral to this one, PFI. And now recently turned around, they had the gumption to sit down and say CFI and PFI are two different organizations altogether. We're not connected at all. So that's how they've evolved. In High Court, hijab is an essential practice in Islam. In Supreme Court, It may not be essential, but it is integral.
Yeah.
Look how they've changed the discourse.
Yeah, so that's the strength. I mean, it's they are being pretty flexible. They are infiltrating insidiously into, we see in Jharkhand, the police, states like Jharkhand, not just Jharkhand, the police cadre has been infiltrated in some places. In some of the ISIS cases, there have been police officers stamping their passports and,
for false identity.
Yeah, or false identity. So they are actually working with a very strong plan. And but Campus Front of India doesn't have even plausible deniability, because the fund trail or the money trail will directly nail it with PFI from what I am reading. So, but there is one aspect, Anand, since Sushant is there, Sijit is there, and Mr. Singh is there. What makes Kerala such a hotbed of, the nerve center of Indian, jihadi activity?
Gulf,
the headquarters.
The fact that so many of them have gone to the Gulf, there is influence, and this was at a time when there were nations who were actively pushing the Salafi
ISIS.
Wahhabism. They were pushing it. Now they seem to have moved away, but they have left this collateral damage on our soil.
Yeah, but Turkey has got involved in it big time, while some of the Arab states may have come back a few steps. So that's extremely worrying, actually.
Yeah, it is. But is that a fallout, Sushant Sareen? Would you agree? Because I'm also going to quickly put this out as I come across to you. This is the third aspect of the investigation and the details that we have access today on from top government sources, ladies and gentlemen. The PFI ISIS Connect. We bring you the evidence which is writ large. Now have a look at this. ISIS-related training videos are there. IED manuals available. This is the incriminating documents that have been now recovered. ISIS propaganda speeches have also been found, not just digital trail but documentation. And connect that with the Bihar module, Sushant Sareen, with the Mission 2047. Maybe very, very lofty in terms of its thought process, saying 10% of Muslim support is all that we need to turn it all around in India. They don't have that. But look at the kind of outlining that they have done. Sushant Sareen.
Yeah, but Anand, you seem to forget that change and tectonic change in society is, you don't need 100% people. You need 10, 15, 20% very highly committed, radicalized, fanatical people to completely, bring something down, which is exactly what these guys were aiming at. There are jihadist groups who believe not even 10%, who believe in the 1% theory, that if you have just about 1% people in the right places, you can actually, wreak havoc wherever you want to. So there's no big deal in that. But Anand, something which Dr. Singh said, I think, why just talk about PFI and how blind eye has been turned because of politics to PFI? Why don't we talk about the entire Northeast and Bengal and the kind of demographic transition which has taken place because politicians out there wanted to cement their vote banks and actually encourage illegal migration, never imagining that it will completely change the demographics of so many districts.
Correct.
We allowed it to happen. And there's nothing you can do about it right now, right? One. Number two, there is this constant refrain from the apologists and the defenders of the PFI that, how can you link these people who went abroad with the PFI? The PFI didn't send them. There is a simple test to evaluate, that argument. What is it about the PFI that so many people of the PFI and not other, and there are innumerable Muslim organizations in this country. How is it that overwhelming majority of the people who have gone abroad for international jihadist causes are people from a particular organization, the PFI, and not from any of the other organizations, which might be very orthodox, very controversial in their own right. Right. They might actually be even, you could even call them communal organizations. And yet people from those organizations, you have neither found their involvement in this kind of terrorist activity, you have not found their involvement in any kind of militant activity, you have not found them or anybody associated with those organizations making a beeline for, you know, the ISIS or the Al Qaeda or any of the other international terrorist groups. Why only PFI? So I think, you know, this is a question which needs to be asked of these people who constantly point fingers that, you know, you are hounding the PFI, that it's some kind of a social welfare organization, that it's some kind of, you know, missionaries of charity kind of an organization. It is none of this, those things. It is a pure and simple jihadist outfit, albeit operating under a very, very secular sounding name. And this is the same model which you see in Jammu and Kashmir, where you will have, you know, the anti-fascist front, or you will have, you know, very secular sounding other names of these groups which have come up, newfangled groups which have come up. You know, nobody can say that these are Islamist jihadist groups. The same model is followed by the guys from the PFI. So no big deal in that, you know. That's a standard operating procedure.
No, and do you get the sense, Vikram Singh ji, please take this forward, that they also seem to have perfected it over their progression or growth or even metamorphosis, if I may say, from SIMI to IM to PFI and its affiliate organizations. They seem to have perfected it. They seem to have taken what works everywhere in terms of subterfuge, and they have redefined how to work to subvert the system, using the system to subvert it.
Anandji, I would go a step further. I find that the footprints of the ISI and also of other intelligence agencies hostile to us have been excellent mentors to the PFI, to the SIMI and other such organizations. The standard operating procedure, as Sushant Sarin has mentioned, is deception. Deception with a capital D, and also subterfuge. Falsehood, as Dr. Goebbels, but Dr. Goebbels is a far cry from what is happening today. They have perfected it. Repetition, internalization, it has become a second nature to them. And now they have perfected it in a manner that perhaps if there is a trophy for the biggest subterfuge and falsehood, as the lawyers come and they speak in our debates and come out with absolute white lies with so much of confidence, well, they really must have done extremely good hard practice at home, and there must be tutelage and tutoring and mentoring also how to produce falsehood and make it appear as a gospel truth. Here is the problem, is that perhaps their perfection is so good that the nation was taken for a ride, and whether willingly or unwillingly. When I say willingly, there were those who just slept over this and looked the other way, and there were those who were swept away by the smooth talk. But yes, I'm happy that Anandji raised this point, that this tutelage by international intelligence agencies, because this is exactly what the footprints of the ISI, duly tutored by national intelligence agencies of Turkey and other such rogue agencies, they have given them the absolute tutoring and mentoring that they are what they are today, and they are adept at befooling the local police and intelligence agencies and law enforcement agencies.
Not just fooling them, but also very quietly embedding themselves into the system. So
Very true.
So
Very
using the system, like Abhijit was saying, that they have gotten into police, they've gotten into administration, they've gotten into the legal system, and they had fronts for all of this. They also used community and humanitarian and charitable causes to reach out to society. And when they come out absolutely benign. They are able to rein their emotions in, allowing it to manifest only when it needs to. Srijit Nair, why Kerala, and especially North Kerala?
Yeah, it is probably because of the political outfits that they have formed. The mainstream political parties do depend on communal votes here. I would say communal votes rather than religious votes. Basically, because they do have a principle of wooing such kinds of organizations.
So is it that? See, because I'll tell you what, Srijit, Islam came to India first from Trishur. Yeah. So it is 6th century itself, at the time of the Prophet itself. This influence, is it petrodollars, or is it the Salafi Wahhabi push? Is it because the number of Malayalis who went to the Gulf and then got indoctrinated there and brought back that radicalization here? Because why? Because in North Kerala, you find shops named in Arabic. It's not in Malayalam. The names are Arabic. Influence is Arabic. Culture is Arabic.
Exactly. And therefore, this deception is only an external garb that people are wearing. Deep under the hood, they are propagating communal agenda, and it has come out very publicly on multiple occasions, even from their ideologues to even small children. You might have seen the protest rally, right? Anand, the protest rally in Alappuzha, where a small child was actually warning people in the Hindu and Christian community to be prepared for performing their last rites. So this kind of audacity is there even for a small child to shout religious and communal slogans publicly against us. And when caught, they were saying that they were shouting these slogans against the Sangh, as if people in Sangha Parivar were easy targets and they could be killed, and there was a reason for it, there was a justification for it. So this was the kind of agenda that these people were spreading. One particular incident that I would like to mention here on the debate was in 2007. There is this ideologue by the name Professor P. Koya, who has now been nabbed by the NIA. So he gave an interview to the Washington Post Newsweek. And this interview, the online link is still available on Washington Post Newsweek. And this story was titled, "A Professor Praises Terrorism." So this happened way back in 2007. And he was saying there that somebody had called him in 2001 on a fine day morning and asked him to switch on BBC. So when he switched on BBC, he was seeing the live visuals of this airplane hitting the and he says that he was all laughs saying this. He's saying, what else can a helpless people do? So this is the kind of audacity that these people have built over the years, thanks to their services to SIMI, thanks to their services to banned other organizations, and also other organizations which were running the precursors of this PFI, like the National Democratic Front. There were certain other organizations from Tamil Nadu and Karnataka which also merged to form PFI. So these were the ideologues, and these people went scot-free here. They were talking anti-India agenda in their large mass gatherings. They were saying that the Balakot airstrike, they were saying this Balakot airstrike, we did not target the bases of these militants. Instead, we were bombing the forests. So this was the Pakistan narrative. And they were also saying that we did not shoot down any of the F-16s of that the Pakistan army had. They are saying the propaganda which is run by Pakistan, saying that people from the United States went to Pakistan, they checked all the F-16s and all the 20 were intact. Now, this propaganda, although it will appear as a joke to the people, there is a deep design to it. So this actually is basically instilling this anti-India propaganda, this campaign into the minds deeply into all these people. There are several lakhs of people that gather there at various beaches where these events are held. So this is the kind of audacity that they have built over the years, and because they are a very significant political front, especially at the grassroots level, they may not have any representation in the assembly or in the parliament. They may not even contest in some other places. But what happens is that at the bottom level, at the grassroots level, they do have a very strong physical presence.
Right.
They are there in a lot of local bodies. They do give discreet support to a lot of mainstream parties. They can, upset a particular entity in a local body. They can give or abstain their support.
And then they will get into that particular body.
And therefore, what happens is that there was, so these all these things happened initially. But what I vividly remember is that last year, when the state assembly elections were held, there was a leader who came out in the open and he said that we have 10,000 votes in the Nemam constituency in Trivandrum, which was the only seat the BJP had. He said, to beat BJP, we are ready to offer this to the CPM candidate. Now, CPM all the while has been terming the PFI silently, although silently as a terrorist organization. But then they said that although they are communal, they shouldn't have accepted the votes. But nobody said that Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan was in charge of all these activities. He was guarding all these activities even at that point of time. They did not deny the votes. So basically, the votes are the thing that unites all these people.
Right. So at the end of the day, you are ready to even compromise security, national interest, because your political interest is furthered. I have to stop here. I have to stop here because the challenge, ladies and gentlemen, is that we have documented evidence that they are working with terrorist organizations. Yet the government has not banned them as a terrorist organization. They have banned them as unlawful association under Section 3 and 4, not under Section 1 of the UAPA. So think about how they have planned this out and thought this through. these organizations and the various entities. This is just the initial part of the probe. We have given you the insight into the initial probe dossier that's being built. Just the excerpt, ladies and gentlemen. There is a lot more that we'll share with you in the days to come. I thank all our panelists. Thank you very much. Stay with us. When we come back, what happened on the Gyanvapi hearing? Why is the Muslim Paksh against the ASI conducting a survey of the entire Gyanvapi Parisar? More importantly, what was discovered right next at that now enclosed and guarded Wazukhana? Why are they saying don't go ahead and survey, don't do a scientific investigation? Vishnu Jain and Harishankar Jain when we come back.
Ex-Congress president is going to be a puppet, is going to be remote controlled by 10 Janpath. And the person most likely to have been seen as a Gandhi loyalist, Ashok Gehlot, has now ruled himself out from that race. So this attack line that, let's say, between a Digvijay Singh and a Shashi Tharoor, and they are the only two known candidates as of today, neither of them would be called a puppet of 10 Janpath?
Are you sure about that, Zaka? Because, see, the point is that for any change to happen, there needs to be an acceptance that something needs to be changed. So when Digvijay ji was just talking, he just said, we want Rahul Gandhi to be the president. If that's not possible, let Priyanka Gandhi be the president. If that is also not possible, then I'll consider getting in somewhere. There is no acceptance. There is no need for a change that any of these people are saying. The people who were looking for a change have been sidelined as a G23 or they have left the party. So these people who are still in the race are the people who have the complete support or at least a confidence of 10 Janpath. I don't see anything
let me just qualify why I said what I said. First of all, Mr. Shashi Tharoor was officially part of the G23, so I don't know how much confidence of 10 Janpath he has. And secondly, as far as Mr. Digvijay Singh is concerned, it is true that there was a point of time many years ago where he was very, very close to Rahul Gandhi. The prevailing wisdom as of today is that they'd had a fallout some years ago and things were not the way it used to be. So neither of them is seen, let's say, for want of an example, in the same league in terms of closeness to the powers that be as, let's say, an Ashok Gehlot was. That was a limited point.
So, see, again, the point is Ashok Gehlot was directly being referred by 10 Janpath, and that is in itself a reason that 10 Janpath wants somebody who is in complete control of them to be part of that. There is still time for people to file in the nomination. So let's not draw a line today that this is it and these are the two people. Maybe there would be an added addition or somebody else who could come in via the 10 Janpath routes. That could still happen. But the essential point being that need for a change is still not being seen from the state presidents to the cadre to everybody. They still want Rahul Gandhi to come in. Rahul Gandhi for some reason is not interested. So this is an entire party of reluctant politicians anymore. Ashok Gehlot was being coronated, but he's not interested anymore.
The fundamental point, and I like the way you say the 10 Janpath route, because to get to 24 Akbar Road, you need to go through 10 Janpath. But let me ask Sumansi Raman. One thing is this entire episode starting from last Sunday when the CLP meeting was called for, and that turned out to be a fiasco, and all the way up until today when Mr. Gehlot said, I'm not running to be Congress president, this entire fiasco was completely avoidable. All that the High Command needed to ask Mr. Gehlot was, are you interested in the Congress president's job? Do you want to be Congress president, or do you want to continue as chief minister? Because if you're wanting to continue as chief minister, there's no point going through this whole charade. And at the end of the day, this charade has just rendered the High Command looking like a bunch of incompetent chaps, because they clearly underestimated Mr. Gehlot's clout within the legislature party.
Zaka, I would not think that even the Congress leadership, even the present Congress leadership would be so colossally incompetent to have not discussed this issue with Mr. Gehlot. I think Mr. Gehlot pulled a fast one. He overplayed his hand. I think the plan which would have been discussed was for Mr. Gehlot to step down and the High Command to take a decision on his successor. At some point, when it appeared that Sachin Pilot would be the choice of the High Command, I think Mr. Gehlot decided to pull a fast one, and this is the reason for the fiasco. They are now furious with Mr. Gehlot, which is why he has said, I went and said sorry, and so on. The point is very clear. The Congress High Command does not have a clear candidate. Even Mr. Gehlot was sort of, pulled in kicking and screaming because he was certainly not, keen on taking up the job. So it's a sad, story today that nobody wants to head India's largest party. I mean, largest in terms of oldest and most famous political party over the decades. The point one is Digvijay Singh fell out with Rahul Gandhi and the Gandhis in a larger sense, which is why you saw him being sidelined even in Madhya Pradesh. When you remember, Zaka, Digvijay Singh at one point was the face of the Congress party in Madhya Pradesh. And then what happened? Kamal Nath came in and Kamal Nath became the chief minister. Mr. Digvijay Singh was actually pushed to almost a number 3 spot behind Jyotiraditya Scindia. Kamal Nath versus Jyotiraditya Scindia was really the contest there.
Yeah.
And Mr. Digvijay Singh was virtually and also ran in his own state. So I think that he is certainly not going to be a hugely popular choice, even should the High Command want to anoint him. Shashi Tharoor, yes, Shashi Tharoor at least appeals to some very, very small segment, but he's seen as too elitist. So how the Congress cadre would respond to him, especially in the Hindi belt, when he's not a leader from the Hindi belt, also makes it a very difficult choice. And I was thinking, why couldn't they think potentially of Sachin Pilot himself? Why could Sachin Pilot not be, he's young, he's from the Hindi belt, taking him out and making him a national president takes him out of the hair of Ashok Gehlot during the remaining of his term as Rajasthan chief minister. But that's not even been spoken, because I don't think that after his rebellion in 2020, the Gandhi
Back on, ladies and gentlemen, with the spotlight turned towards Kashi, where in the entire matter of Shringar Gauri and the entire Gyanvapi Parisar, there was an application filed by the Hindu Paksh where they wanted carbon dating or any other form of trying to establish not just what is there in those areas, visible and invisible deities, but more importantly, the age of the structure which is present there. The Hindu Paksh believes it is Shivling, it is the Adi Vishweshwar, which is there in the area that was designated a Wazu Khana. The Muslim Paksh believes it's a fountain. Now, ahead of the hearing today, the Muslim Paksh, CNN News 18 was able to access the application or the counter of the Muslim Paksh, which said that this area is already cordoned off or blocked by the Supreme Court. This is actually a fountain. There is no need for carbon dating or any other kind of measurement because it is it is not required. They've also specifically tried to put their finger on carbon dating, saying that carbon dating is done on something which had life and does not have, or to prove whether something had life or not. So it does not apply here. However, the Hindu Paksh had modified their application and said any form, even if it is not carbon dating, any form of a scientific experimentation or ratification which can determine what that structure is, the age of that structure and the nature of that structure, and that they said could be done only by the ASI or the Archaeological Survey of India. So that's where things stand. Let's go across to the petitioners from the Hindu Paksh, Vishnu Shankar Jain and Hari Shankar Jain ji. Namaste, gentlemen. Thank you very, very much. What happened in court today, Vishnu Shankar Jain?
See, today we had already moved an application and argued it on 22nd of September, where we had asked for a scientific investigation to ascertain that how old and what is the age and nature of the Shivlingam which has been found on 16th of May. So on that application, the court had invited objections from the Muslim side, and the Muslim side had submitted their objection today. And the interesting part of this is that they had said in the court today that it's a fountain, and in their affidavit also before the Honorable Court, they have said that this is a fountain. So now the question which arises for consideration is this, that if one side of the matter is saying it's a fountain, and the other side believes that it's a Shivlingam which is found. So what's the mode of ascertainment of what is the nature of this object, whether it's a Shivling or it's a fountain? How can it be ascertained? Our respectful submission was that it can be expert through an expert opinion under section 45 of the Indian Evidence Act, and therefore the court must call upon the ASI and constitute a commission of the Archaeological Survey of India, including the petitioners, to go and see that by which modern technology the age and nature of this Shivlingam can be ascertained. And for that matter, the Honorable Court has reserved its verdict, and on 7th of October, the Honorable Court will pass an order on our application seeking an ASI survey of the Shivlingam which has been found.
But Harishankar Jain ji, the Muslim Paksh says this area has been blocked, marked out by the Supreme Court. So the Varanasi court is not at liberty to decide what can be done there. Is that a just observation, or do you believe one side says Shivling, another side says fountain, only ASI can decide?
I pointed out to the court that on 17th May, the court has clearly passed an order that district judge will be empowered to decide all the applications. This order was passed on 20th May. All ancillary applications, all miscellaneous applications, whichever may be filed, and entire case has been transferred to the district judge. Therefore, court is competent to decide all the matters, and everything which was said by Muslim side and also by one of the plaintiffs, number one, they colluded and their stand was same, and one, that this application filed by us be dismissed. And I also pointed out that Order 26, Rule 10A of the CPC clearly provides that scientific investigation can be made, can be ordered by the court, and that can be made. Number two, the Shivlingam which has been found, one party says it is otherwise, it is fountain. Naturally, the court or advocates or anybody or no evidence can be produced. It is only this scientific investigation which will prove what it is. Number two, kindly consider, I want to clarify that large number of hue and cry has been made, and it said that we want the Shivlingam be damaged for carbon dating. No, this is absolutely wrong. We have never said that a carbon dating of any type which may damage Shivlingam be conducted. The only thing is scientific investigation and other constituents of Shivlingam by GPR survey or otherwise. That is misinterpreted. And I want to make it clear that we are doing for the mandir, for the temple, and there is no question, and never we can allow the Shivlingam be damaged in any way. And our prayer is very limited and very clear that this area be investigated scientifically by SI. SI has the power, SI has the instrument, as has been said by Honorable Supreme Court in Anajudha case, and they have written that the ASI has the power to conduct every type of investigation.
So you are not saying So you are not saying any particular method, but you are saying it should be a scientific investigation. Only science and facts can decide whose argument or whose claim is right, and that can be justified. And that power is with the ASI. Now, Harishankar Jain ji, now please tell me, what does the order of the Allahabad High Court have any bearing in that case of the old case which they have called the 1991 case, where yesterday the court has asked the DG ASI to file a detailed reply in this matter, because this is the original case, Lord Vishweshwar versus Gyanwapi case, where the Sunni Waqf Board had gone and moved in challenging the April 21 order of a Varanasi local court ordering ASI survey of this entire Gyanwapi site. And the Allahabad High Court said this is a matter of national importance, so the DG ASI give a detailed affidavit. Do you think that will have a? They have given him time till they have given time till 18th October. Ji.
I want to point out that matter is different from the present one. Here, Shivlingam has been found only on 16th May, and that is regarding Adi Visheshwar, which lies at different place. Here is the Shivlingam found on 16th, and I pointed out just now that on 20th May, the Honorable Supreme Court is clearly passed an order. The case is transferred to London District Judge, who will be competent to decide all the applications, whichever is given. Therefore, the High Court proceeding which is pending has no impact on the proceeding which is going on before London District Judge. It is being governed by the order of the Honorable Supreme Court, and Supreme Court will prevail. Number two, there is no clash between the two proceedings. That proceeding is on different side. Here, very limited prayer regarding Shivlingam and what is beneath Shivlingam. That is very limited prayer. That is there. Therefore, you cannot equate both the things together. The High Court proceeding different, and here is the proceeding different. And again, I want to insist that Honorable Supreme Court has permitted, by order dated 20th May, that district judge will be entitled, will be competent to decide every application. Therefore, there should be no confusion.
So there are powers with the district judge to decide, because the Honorable Supreme, and the other aspect which you are saying, and Vishnu Shankar Jain, is that the biggest difference, that one is a claim that you get a survey done to determine what is there. The other one, that is your petition or your demand, is based on the Advocate Commissioner's survey report, because there were certain objects found there and there were certain structures found there. There were also idols that were found, seen and unseen, visible and invisible. Both aspects were covered in that detailed 9 to 12 page survey report. So are you basing your demand application on that, what was seen there, and say now let's do more scientific investigation to confirm what was seen there?
See, Anand, you are absolutely right. And as my senior, Mr. Harishankar Jain, rightly pointed out, that both the cases stand on two different footings. The initial suit, which was filed in 1991, in that ASI survey was ordered for the entire area. And let me tell you, when the ASI survey was ordered, the Shivlingam was not found. Against that, the Muslim side went in appeal before the Allahabad High Court. The Allahabad High Court has stayed the order of the lower court. After that, our suit was filed. In our suit, Advocate Commissioner was appointed, and in the Advocate Commissioner's report on 16th of May, Shivlingam was found. And once Shivlingam was found, the order of the trial court sealed that Shivlingam area. The entire Vazukna was sealed, and that order was subsequently passed by the Honorable Supreme Court on 20th of May. And the Honorable Supreme Court, as my senior was pointed out, on 20th of May has absolutely made it clear that the entire trial is transferred from the Civil Judge Senior Division to the District Judge, and the District Judge will be entitled and empowered and will have all the jurisdiction to decide all the applications and the entire trial. So now the point is that we are asking for ASI survey and the scientific investigation of the Shivlingam. Now this demand is completely different from the title suit which is pending before the Allahabad High Court. And in our suit, the application of 711 has been dismissed. And this is a suit for by the worshippers seeking worship rights of visible and invisible deities. So now the point is, in our suit, proceedings have not been stayed. And let me tell you also, if you remember, that we had moved an application by these 4 women devotees in the Supreme Court. Seeking carbon dating and scientific investigation. The Supreme Court, we withdrew our petition before the Supreme Court because there was an observation that the suit is pending before the trial court. So you move before the trial court. So in terms of those orders, we have filed our application before the trial. So the trial court is, I must tell you with lot of clarity on your channel that the trial court is completely empowered to decide this application and to decide the entire matter. There is no stay on the trial court. Rather, the order of the Supreme Court of 20th of May says that the trial should go on before the district judge and he is permitted to decide all the applications. So this is an application not for the entire area. Let me also clarify. The ASI survey has only been asked for the Shivlingam which has been found on 16th of May. I am not suggesting here any mode or technology. I am not an expert in the field. The Archaeological Survey of India will tell and determine how this survey has to be conducted. They are the experts in the field, and as per section 22 of the Archaeological Survey of India Act 1958, they can determine how the age of the Shivlingam can be ascertained.
Good evening, this is Brass Tacks. I'm Zakir Jacob. Rajasthan Chief Minister Ashok Gehlot has ruled himself out of the race to be the next Congress president. He said so in as many words after meeting with Congress President Sonia Gandhi, where he apologized for the incidents that happened on Sunday and Monday. Now, with this, the so-called establishment candidate, or the candidate that the Gandhi family seems to have been comfortable with, he has now bowed out, which means the race narrows down to between Digvijay Singh and Shashi Tharoor. The nominations close tomorrow, and unless there is a surprise third candidate, the question that's being raised is who then becomes the establishment candidate. Digvijay Singh has had a major fallout with the Gandhi family some years ago. Shashi Tharoor was seen as part of the G23. Neither of them will be seen as a staunch, quote-unquote, Gandhi family loyalist. Did the High Command completely overestimate its power with Gehlot and Gehlot's support within the CLP? And what now happens to Sachin Pilot and his dreams of becoming Chief Minister, because Mr. Gehlot has indicated that he's very much going to continue as Chief Minister in Rajasthan.
कल परसों की घटना हुई है और मेरी मॉरल रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी थी कि वो प्रताप पार्क होता, तो मैंने तय किया है अब मैं इस माहौल के अंदर चुनाव नहीं लड़ूंगा.
After finding himself out of favour with the Gandhis, the one-time favourite has ruled himself out of Congress's president race. 4 days after a rebellion in the party's Rajasthan unit over Ashok Gehlot being possibly replaced by his arch-rival Sachin Pilot as Chief Minister, Gehlot landed up in Delhi to meet Sonia Gandhi, who advised him not to contest.
मैंने सोनिया जी से भी सॉरी फील किया है, माफी मांगी है, तो मेरी मॉरल रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है कि एक मुख्यमंत्री होने के बावजूद भी मैं एक प्रस्ताव, एक लाइन का जो हमारी परंपरा है, पहली बार वो परंपरा के अंतर्गत वो प्रस्ताव पास नहीं होगा.
With Gehlot bowing out, the race for a new non-Gandhi Congress president comes down to these two men for now. One is seen as a staunch Gandhi loyalist, the other is a member of the G23. While Shashi Tharoor had already declared his candidature and is expected to file his nomination on Friday, Digvijay Singh finally ended the suspense by picking up the nomination papers.
हम लोगों का पूरा प्रयास रहा कि राहुल जी हमारे नए राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्ष बने. वो नहीं बनते हैं तो प्रियंका जी बने. लेकिन जब परिवार ने बिल्कुल तय कर दिया कि बिल्कुल हम किसी हालत में नहीं लड़ेंगे चुनाव, तो फिर फील्ड खुली है, जिसको लड़ना है लड़े.
Whether more names will pop up or who will become the Congress president is still a wait-and-watch game. The only thing that's certain is that it's the first time in over 20 years that a Gandhi won't be in the top post. Another person whose fate remains uncertain is Sachin Pilot. He has been long waiting his moment in Rajasthan, but has always been blocked by Team Gehlot. Even after the latest maneuver by Gehlot's MLAs, there was no action taken against the Rajasthan Chief Minister. While Gehlot is out of the Congress president race, he continues to reign over Rajasthan, which means that Pilot has once again been hung out to dry. So is another desert storm only a matter of time? Has the Gandhis' inability to get a grip on the party been exposed once again? And will a new Congress president be able to fix the multitude of problems that the party is facing?
All right, big twist and turn continuing in the race to be the next Congress president. Now, Sachin Pilot is meeting Sonia Gandhi at 10 Janpat. The Congress has also issued a gag order to its leaders in Rajasthan and warned of disciplinary action in case of any violation. Remember, this meeting between Mr. Pilot and Mrs. Gandhi has been going on for close to an hour now. So clearly, something big is being discussed there. Let me go across to Pallavi Ghosh, who's joining us live from 10 Janpat. Pallavi, what can Mrs. Gandhi possibly tell Sachin Pilot, and that too after what we heard just earlier this afternoon when Ashok Gehlot met her and came out and said that he's not going to run for Congress president?
Well, in fact, in a short while from now, we do expect Sachin Pilot to come out of 10 Janpat, where he's huddled in a meeting with Mrs. Sonia Gandhi as well as KC Venugopal. Obviously, a Sachin Pilot would expect some kind of a reassurance on what he says that he has been promised by the Gandhis long time back, that his time is going to come and he's going to become the chief minister. But, you know, it may not be an easy decision to make. Maybe she doesn't make that commitment to him immediately because there are factors which have to be kept in mind. The MLAs, for that matter. You know, we've been talking about in a comparison equivalent to a Punjab situation where the Congress party too managed to replace one chief minister. But towards the fag end of his tenure, Captain Amrinder Singh had also lost grip over his party, over his government, and therefore it was easier, I guess, for the Gandhis to come out with a replacement for him. Immediately, if you look at the situation in Rajasthan, Zaka, that doesn't seem to be the case. He certainly seems to be in control of the situation, of the party and of the MLAs. Because if it hadn't been so, then you wouldn't have seen that letter issued by Mr. K.C. Venugopal a short while back, where he says and threatens disciplinary action against those who are speaking out of turn. Who are the ones who have been speaking out of turn? Well, it's most of those MLAs who are part of Gehlot's camp. They have been very critical of Sachin Pilot, saying those who have been loyal to the party are the ones who need to be rewarded and not those who are actually leaving the party, planning up with the BJP to gang up.
All right, we'll see how the story plays out. For the moment, thanks very much, Pallavi. She also spoke to Digvijay Singh, who's now, at least as of this evening, one of the two candidates who is going to fight the Congress president's elections. Let's just play out what Digvijay Singh had to say, and then we'll open this up to our panelists.
Digvijay, a lot of developments have happened over the few days, and today itself there is this whole question about Mr. Ashok Gehlot and the trust factor. He seemingly belied the trust of the Gandhis. Is that the reason why you stepped in?
Well, when it's a clear indication by the leadership that they are not contesting, they are not interfering, and it's a free and fair election for any PCC delegate to fight an election. So I thought I should try my hand. Why not?
But do you think Mr. Ashok Gehlot has let down the trust of the Gandhis?
No, I don't think so. He's been a very committed and loyalist leader and committed to the family and to the party. So there's not a trust deficit. The responsibility is being fixed by the disciplinary committee, which have given notices to those who have spoken openly against the High Command. 99.99% of congressmen are committed to the family, are committed to the Congress ideology. And there is no discussion on that, and there is no dissent on that.
All right, let me now open this up to our panelists. R.P. Singh, spokesperson of the BJP, joining us. George Kurian is a political strategist associated with the Congress party. Rashid Gidwai, author and senior journalist. Mita Prakash, editor of ANI. And Radhika Ramseshan, columnist, joining us. Let me start with you, Mr. George Kurian, because we're talking about the party that you associate yourself with. The question is that Ashok Gehlot was supposed to be the establishment candidate, the candidate who was supposedly close to the family. Now with the two who are running, Digvijay Singh, who at one point, to be fair to him, was very close to Rahul Gandhi, and then of course they reportedly had a fallout. And then of course Shashi Tharoor, who's seen as part of the G23. Who is now your establishment candidate?
Well, Zaka, I fully agree with what you said. To begin with, Ashok Gehlot was one of the probable candidates. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not getting your feed as of right now, but anyway.
We can hear you. Go ahead,
Yeah, so the point is, Congress party, as you played the Digvijay Singh's bite, he said anyone is free to contest the presidential election. I strongly believe both are capable as far as the presidential candidate is concerned, and it's too early to even predict as to how many names will come up by tomorrow 3 p.m. And post that, it is only on the 8th of October that one would finally come to know, after the final date of withdrawal of candidature, that who would be in the race.
No, but is there a surprise third candidate who will pop up simply because of the way events have played out? Had Mr. Gehlot still been in the race, then the chances of a surprise third candidate does not arise. But now that he's not there, is there the possibility of a third candidate who could be a family appointee or a family candidate, as it were?
Well, one can't predict on that one as of right now, at this point in time, because anything can happen until 3 p.m. tomorrow. There are nomination forms which have been taken, so one has to wait and watch.
R.P. Singh, irrespective of who becomes the next Congress president, I think it would be fair to say that it's going to be a non-Gandhi person, right? It's going to be a non-Gandhi at the helm of